We all know that one person. You know the one. You're in a meeting, everyone is happily agreeing on a plan to order pizza, and suddenly Chad from accounting leans back in his chair and says, just to play devil's advocate here, what about the lactose intolerant? Ugh, Chad. Today we use the phrase devil's advocate constantly. Usually it means someone taking an opposing view just for the sake of argument, or perhaps to test the strength of an idea. Sometimes it's helpful for critical thinking, sometimes it's just plain annoying. But what if I told you that playing devil's advocate used to be one of the most important, high-pressure jobs in the world? That it wasn't about annoying your coworkers, but about the literal salvation of souls. Today on Phrases Explained, we're putting the devil's advocate on the stand, and the backstory is a lot holier than you might think. As always, before we dig into the history, let's look at how we use it today. The modern phrase devil's advocate is essentially a stress tester for ideas. At its best, it's crucial. Scientists play devil's advocate with their own theories to find holes in them. Lawyers do it to anticipate what the opposition will say in a trial. It prevents groupthink, and it can be super useful. But at its worst, it's someone adopting a controversial stance they don't even believe in, just to stir the pot or sound intellectually superior. But that's how we use it today. The original devil's advocate wasn't doing it for kicks. They were doing it under direct orders from their boss, the Pope. To find the origin, we need to travel back in time, and specifically to the Catholic Church in the late 1500s. The Church has a process called canonization. That's the official path to declaring someone a saint. Being named a saint is obviously a huge deal. It means the Church officially declares that a person is definitely in heaven and worthy of universal respect and admiration. Like I say, for the Church, huge deal. But in the early days, becoming a saint was a bit of a loose process. Sometimes it was just by popular demand. Local crowds would just start shouting about how holy someone was, which obviously isn't the most robust process to figure this sort of stuff out. But in 1587, Pope Sixtus V decided this needed to be tightened up. Basically, he was like, we can't just let anyone into the Hall of Fame anymore based on hearsay. So he established a rigorous legal process. If someone was nominated for sainthood, it became a literal courtroom trial. And in this trial, just like the courtrooms of today, you need a prosecutor, someone whose entire job was to prove why this person should not be a saint. The official title for this prosecutor was the Promotor Fidei, or Promoter of the Faith, but the nickname everyone used was way cooler. In Latin, it was Advocatus Dei. In English, the Devil's Advocate. This wasn't a metaphorical job. This was actually a high-ranking canon lawyer tasked by the Church to find the dirt. Let's say we have a candidate, Brother Bob the Benevolent. Supporters say Brother Bob performed miracles and lived a perfect life. The devil's advocate's job was to say, no, objection. They had to investigate everything. Did Brother Bob have a secret gambling problem? Were those miracles just coincidences or easily explained by science or some other means? Did he have a bad temper when his favorite sports teams lost? If you think about it, this is actually a brutal job because you had to argue against someone everyone loved. But the Church, they believed it was vital. They felt that if a person's holiness was genuine, it could withstand any level of scrutiny. So if the devil's advocate couldn't find anything to stick, then the candidates were truly worthy. Of course, a trial needs two sides. If the devil's advocate was the prosecutor, then who was the defense attorney? I can hear you asking me. Well, that was a role called the Advocatus Dei, or God's advocate. God's advocate was responsible for gathering the evidence for sainthood, proving the miracles, and defending the candidate's character against the attacks of the devil's advocate. And for nearly 400 years, this dynamic duo battled it out over the souls of potential saints in the halls of the Vatican. So how did this phrase leap out of the Church and into our everyday lives? Why is Chad from accounting using this phrase about pizza instead of some cardinal in Rome? Well, the term was so evocative that by the 1700s and 1800s, it started leaking out of the Vatican and into everyday language. People started using it metaphorically for anyone taking a contrary position. But the biggest change, it actually happened quite recently. In 1983, Pope John Paul II overhauled that canonization process. He wanted to streamline things. The adversarial courtroom-style system was replaced with a more academic and historical investigation. The official office of the devil's advocate was effectively abolished. The scrutiny still happens, but the singular role of the official bad guy was gone. Ironically, critics now argue that removing the devil's advocate made it too easy to become a saint. They were essentially playing devil's advocate against removing the devil's advocate, and that has gotta make you chuckle. So the next time someone groans when you say, "Let me play devil's advocate," you can remind them that you are upholding a centuries-old tradition designed to ensure truth and purity. Whether in theology or in a business meeting, as a society, we actually really need people to test the boundaries of our ideas. We need the skeptics. We need the pushback. Because if an idea is truly good, or if a person is truly holy, then a little bit of advocacy from the devil shouldn't hurt it at all. Thanks for watching Phrases Explained. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and let me know in the comments what word or phrase should we investigate next. I always enjoy reading those ideas, so fire away and maybe yours will be picked for a future video. As for me, I'm off to pick a fight with Chad from accounting. See ya!